Well, hello and welcome back to the garden. It has been a minute. In case you're new here, my name is Brandon and I grow things southeast of Houston, Texas in Zone 9B, if gardening zones matter anymore with climate change and all. So yeah, I've been missing for a little bit. The summer has been hard, okay? Um, the garden is roaring along though. I was going to say humming along when I was kind of reviewing what I might say in the intro to this video, but no, it's roaring along as it does in the summertime. I believe I'm coming up on a full year, by the way, of posting YouTube videos, although I've taken off like the past month, maybe a little bit more because mental health. And so about this time last year, I think my first YouTube video was talking about how badly overgrown the area around the greenhouse was on the backside of it. And this year I've done a much better job of maintaining the weeding, controlling the grasses and stuff. And my current challenges are just pruning things and shaping trees and shrubs to get the look, the feel, and the functionality out of the garden that I want. And one of the big things I'm working on right now is pushing my privacy screening and my shade structures, because I just cannot bring myself to use things like shade cloth in the garden. I try to grow my shade and use plants to do perform those functions for me. So I've got a beautiful little swallowtail hovering around. He or she has been nectaring on this Rangoon creeper since I walked out here to start filming. Okay, so to get to the topic of this video, first of all, hello, I'm glad to see you guys. I'm sorry I've been gone for a minute. But what I want to talk about today is the shade structures for the greenhouse. Particularly, I want to focus on a little volunteer elm tree that I'm going to grow up into some shade for hopefully next year. So let's have a look at that. So here is our current view of the greenhouse. Um, if I can remember, I will put a little clip in here of me standing here earlier in the year so that you can see the difference. Things that may be notable are the dogwood tree. I also may have cleaned and weeded this area a little bit better. If you can see it in the frame, I've got this beautiful miniature leaf compact wax myrtle here that I've been working on. The dogwood, though, I'm very proud of, although if you remember a few videos back, I was complaining about its root suckering, but I'm trying to just work with that, you know. Plant material that you have to pull up is called chop and drop, right? It's fertilizer for the garden. And just above the greenhouse on the other side is the sycamore tree that volunteered here a few years ago, and I've been shaping up into shade structure for the afternoon. But as you may be able to tell, I've got the sun shining on this side of the greenhouse right now, and although this does shade, well, it shades this last corner of the greenhouse here, the bulk of the greenhouse here is in the sun in the morning, and so it's a little uncomfortable in here. And I've got, you know, the rose growing on this side of the greenhouse, but because of the diseases in the yard that affect a few plants, the roses look terrible in the summertime. So a solution that presented itself to me, because I tend to work with what nature provides, is this elm tree here that has popped up. I noticed it, I want to say this year. This is an American elm, I believe, not my favorite elm. I do have a favorite elm in the area, the Ulmus crassifolia. I should have video of it. So, Brandon, make sure you put in a little clip here. There's a wooded area nearby. For you locals, this clip is from the. It's not Edith Moore. Oh, Ted Dunley. I'm so sorry if I'm not quite getting this name. I believe it's Ted or Ned Dunley or Dudley. I'm so sorry, I should have checked this. It's over off of Egret Bay. It's a little nature center, and there are these beautiful Ulmus crassifolia, or cedar elm, in there. It's my favorite looking elm tree. They're so beautiful. But the American elm that came up here, I want to use that as a shade structure, and I brought a tool out here to show what's going on with this elm so that you can see it a little bit better. So let me move you guys so that you can see this plant and what I'm going to do with it. I hope that everything is in frame pretty well here. I believe, you know, maybe at the bottom of the screen, but this is the elm tree. I'm playing a little camera trick here. This is the elm tree that came up here, and I noticed it, like I said, either this year or maybe sometime last year. And I decided, oh, okay, you have come up in an area where I can use you, at least for a few years, to possibly provide shade for the greenhouse, the front of the greenhouse in the mornings. And because this is a deciduous tree that's going to drop its leaves in the winter, it's also going to allow sunlight to get in here into the greenhouse when I need it the most. Now, these trees grow so fast, especially once they get past their first year or so. I had this little stake in here trying to pull it this way a little bit to shape it because, you know, I've talked about this many times. I love to have a whimsical kind of look to my trees, even if that sacrifices a little bit of stability. So what I did was I pushed it this way a little bit, and as this tree thickens up, that little twist is going to lose its drama. And so what I'm going to do today is I'm going to add back a lot more drama. I also put a little securing rope here recently because this tree actually has grown in the last couple of months a lot. This is not doing anything anymore, but it was way down here, and it was not leaning in the direction that I wanted. So today what I'm going to do is I'm just going to try to push this again, because as this tree grows, it's going to, like I said, you know, I haven't talked a lot about my kind of pruning and shaping theory with trees, but when trees grow, what they do is, you know, they start out with this little thin branch, you know, and you can have a pretty hefty, you know, curve to this branch, but because of the way that trees grow, they add layers of tissue on all sides of the trunk. They expand outwards, and as they expand outwards, they lose a lot of the detail and definition in whatever little curves you have in the tree. So this looks kind of curvy right now, but as it thickens up, it's going to turn into a straight line. So I'm predicting for the future, you know, a big trunk here. I don't know if I'm going to let this tree grow forever here, but so what I want to do is I want to make sure that when it's actually a larger size, that it's got the drama that I want in the trunk, and actually has some good, you know, shape to it. So I'm going to push it like way the hell down over here. And the way that I'm going to do that, if you guys have been paying attention, is with a stake. So let me adjust a little here. I know I've been doing more jump cuts today, but I do still like my one-take video clips. So I've got this stake that I salvaged from another project, a poor project. My Huisache tree suffered some damage in a recent windstorm. I've got to talk about that soon, so trust me, I have not been lacking in videos because there is not content to post. Trust me, I've got a million things that I need to show, but I just don't always get around to it. So I've got to find a place to stick this amongst the lantana here. It doesn't have to go in real far or deep into the ground, but it does need to touch the ground. I've got tiles here. I've got brick. I have actually a really pretty piece of tile down here that came from like a countertop. It looks like labradorite. But I just need this to go into the ground enough so that I can get a small anchor point in to pull this tree downwards. Again, what I'm doing with this tree here is mostly for aesthetic purposes. If you don't care about the look of the tree and you just want the shade and the longevity of the tree, you know, to be the priority, then you would probably want to let the tree grow as it wants to in the most straight up and down trunk as possible, but I do not like that look at all. Oh, I hope that this is going into the ground. It feels, oh, it's not at all. Of course it isn't. I was just drilling a hole. It's going to be really difficult, I guess, to get this in the ground here. Let me try and see. Maybe I don't need to go all the way over there. Maybe I can get away with putting this a little bit more this way. Got to kind of, yeah, I think if I put it here. Okay, we're going to try this side. The ground around the greenhouse is particularly soft, which may be why some of these trees and things that come up around here are so fast growing. I'm not a horticulturalist or botanist, you know, in the traditional sense. I don't have any formal training. But what I do have, you know, like an old grandmother, is a lot of actual hands-on experience in the garden. I'm going to have to get a tool here because that has started to get very difficult to turn. So as I was saying, I do have a lot of hands-on experience, and I learned from a lot of mistakes in the garden, and that's okay. It's okay to make mistakes. I've got plenty of those to show y'all so that you can learn from them too, and you don't have to do it all on your own. Okay, I think I have finally gotten a good anchor point here. Now let's see if it's going to be appropriate. I'm going to attach it somewhere up here. Yeah, okay, so yeah, I just want this to go like way down here. And I learned a lesson from working with one of the privacy screening, I think it was my last video actually, the wax myrtle on the side of the house. I had put a rope in the crotch of a tree branch, and I didn't realize that it had dug into that tree branch so heavily. So I'm trying to pay a little more attention here to where I put this anchor rope. I'm going to try to put it around a sacrificial branch so that it's really not a problem later if it eats into it. Yeah, okay. And then I'm going to probably put 2 anchor points here, just so y'all know. I'm going to put one here to hold it more downwards, and then I'm going to come back up and attach it somewhere above me so that whenever this trunk thickens up, my goal with it is to have it kind of run over the front of the greenhouse or in front of the greenhouse. I want the canopy of the tree to spread out there. These trees, I've watched a few of them come up as volunteer trees here in the garden, and they have a very particular growth habit. It's kind of like fast and straight. They don't make a lot of curves and turns like those cedar elms do. That's why I love those wild cedar elms out in the woods. Those guys do a ton of curvy growth, partially because I think they are much slower growing. Okay, so let me make sure y'all are still in a good view here of things. I may have to, you know, I really don't want to do any pruning on this because the more leaf material I can leave on here, the faster it's going to all grow. But it is going to be hard for y'all to see everything. So currently what we've got here is the trunk going up this way. The main leader of the tree is, ooh, sorry, lemon verbena. Oh, the main leader of the tree is here behind some of these branches. It's this branch here, and it's going up behind the rose too. What I want to do is I want it to kind of come up this way, and then as this thickens up, I want it to go over the greenhouse, and then I'm going to try to really focus on spreading the canopy out here and above the greenhouse. Obviously the dogwood here to my left is going to keep expanding and helping with this goal of shading this part of the greenhouse, and I may end up completely removing this rose eventually because it's becoming more and more problematic. But this elm tree will be a nice shade structure, and I want this trunk down here to be very twisty and very bare, so I'm gonna have it, you know, come this way and then go up this way and then Probably make another turn before I start shaping up the canopy, but for now what I need to do is move this away, and I need to figure out where I'm going to anchor it. I do have an anchor up here where I've got this post holding up the rose a little bit. I need to see if this is going to work as an anchor. I've got a piece of jute here that I was using to push this leader when it was a little smaller. Now it's outgrown it quite a bit. So what I do whenever I'm looking to see if an anchor point is going to work is sometimes I'll just attach my rope to the anchor. And this has really been out here for most of the gardening season, so this probably is not going to be a very long-term anchor. I may have to get that nylon out, but what I'll do is I'll put it attached to the anchor point, and I'll just mock it up, you know, see, is this going where I need it to? And again, be really careful if you're doing this to not allow the ropes to strangle your main branches. At least if you have a sacrificial branch, like I know I want to prune these off, I'm going to try not to right now. I may have to push them out of the way, like this is really in the walkway right now, but I'm going to try to leave them so that this plant has as much energy going into it as possible, so that it gets up to the size that I need it next year, and then it's shading out, you know, this part of the greenhouse. But if you have sacrificial branches, tie your anchor points around those. You know, if they get strangled, it's no big deal. But yeah, I think this point will actually work. So I'm going to pull it a little further. Kind of feel like I want it to go a little more this way, but maybe I'll just work on that whenever this leader gets a little bit stronger. So for now, I'm going to tighten this a little bit to pull it further this direction. And I hope that this jute holds up for, you know, at least until this solidifies. I don't think I have mentioned in this video yet that you only have so much time before these branches harden off and they can't be moved anymore. I have broken more than a few branches trying to push them into a place that I want them. Okay, so now you have a pretty good view from this side of what's going on here, but I want to show you what's going on from the other side. So, oh no, why did that? Oh, okay, I don't even know how the camera turned itself like that. All right, so now here's a view from this side to show you what this is doing. Let me see if I can walk around the camera. Oof. One thing about my gardening style is I do not leave a lot of walking space in the aisles. So we have a lot of trouble with making sure everything stays nice and pruned so that you can actually get through them. So as you can see here, my leader, my trunk starts out there, comes up here, and now it's going back towards the greenhouse so that in the future when this thickens up, it's not too in the way. And then I'm going to continue that canopy up as the tree grows. And it probably doesn't have a ton of growth time left this year. We're getting close to the fall, but next year it should really shoot up. Speaking of that, let's have a look at a few of our other volunteer elm trees and kind of show you, you know, what these guys look like, especially if you do not keep close control of them. This is another elm tree that came up here in the past couple of years. I do not remember exactly when it came up because they start off so small, and then it just takes 1 year of them growing before suddenly you realize, oh, there's a tree here. I've got a few trees that are hidden amongst different shrubs and things, and I've only realized that they are there after pruning away that shrub, or the sago palms is a good example. But this elm tree, which is the same type of elm, Ulmus americana, I decided in the fall last year to leave here and try to shape up. So you see I've got a little bit of a curve to the trunk here. Actually, I have a side-by-side here of when I first decided to start shaping this. So here's a little bit of a before and after. I've still got an anchor rope here pulling this way, even though it probably needs to come down. I need to do a little bit more work on this, but I really do like the privacy screening that this tree is providing right now from the road, because there's a main road along this side here of the house and the property. So what I'm going to try to do is continue spreading this canopy out. I've got two main trunks here, and I'm going to try to maintain those trunks. I'm going to push this one more that way and this one more this way. I'm going to try to keep them above my wax myrtles and limbed up. I've got to prune all this little stuff off here, but for now, that's acting as a good privacy screening in and of itself, so I'm going to leave it. But as things grow, I don't want these to turn into big branches. They could be problematic real fast. Let's go look at another, well, you know, actually, let's look at the sycamore real quick. I'm just gonna carry all over here without a jump cut. Hopefully the sun is not glaring too badly, but you see the sycamore is creating, you know, in the afternoon, a beautiful shade here over the greenhouse, but right now it ain't doing nothing. I mean, it's being beautiful, but it's not providing any shade for the greenhouse. Just this area, which I'm also cleaning up, but I don't want to get too much into that right now. I know this video is already going to be quite long, but y'all are happy to see me, right? I'm happy to see you. All right, let's go look at one more of my volunteer elm trees, and then I'll call it a day for this video. So this is another elm tree that I've been working on that popped up on me kind of out of nowhere. I did notice it when it was smaller, particularly because there were butterflies hosting on it. I didn't know this, and this is partly why I decided to let the elm trees live here in the garden, even though they can become a little bit of a nuisance. They're a native, so I'm giving it a reprieve, but they do produce a lot of seeds, and that can be a little bit annoying. I do get quite a few elms and other trees. It's just, you go around, chop them up, mulch them, and use them in the garden. That's what I try to consider all of these things at. It's a harvest, okay? But this guy here is an elm that came up here, and it's not in the best spot. It's growing over the neighbor's fence, but it's a good shade structure for this area. I just, after this growing season and this guy drops its leaves, I need to do some shaping on this to keep it tidy. And I don't know, I may have to kill it. I don't know if I'm quite at the point yet where I have any trees that need to be killed besides the Chinaberry in the front yard. But I do have a method that I really want to try out with herbicides. I don't love herbicides, but I think targeted use of herbicides is fine as long as you don't spray them. I don't think there's a reason to spray them unless you're in habitat management dealing with some horrible invasive species of grass or something somewhere, but in your own garden. Most of the types of herbicide application that you may have to use is going to be things like this horrible method. I don't like the name of it, but it's funny. It's called hack and squirt. You hack a hole in the side of the trunk of whatever tree you're trying to kill, and then you spray an herbicide in there. Or you could just do the scratch and paint method, where you just scratch the bark and you paint the herbicide on there, or you cut the stump and you paint around the cambium layer. But yeah, it's possible to do this management of growing a tree and then killing it off whenever you don't need it anymore. That's what I'm trying to practice here. And I'm whispering a little because I think my neighbors are outside on the other side of the fence. But let me show y'all real quick another angle of this tree so you can see it a little better. Here we go. So I did attempt to shape this tree a little bit. I had a ratchet strap and an anchor pulling this down this way. It was a straight trunk. It doesn't have the drama that I want in it, but you see how, like I was saying, as the trunk thickens up, you're going to lose whatever definition, you know, you had in the trunk. So you don't want these little tight curves like this, because eventually the swelling of the trunk is going to just eat away at that definition, and you're going to need these huge curves like this instead of these little dinky curves like that. And you're going to need to consider the overall shape of the tree as a large specimen, whether the proportions of all that are going to be right. I'm going to try to get on the iPad and do some like drawing and sketching to show what I mean by that in the future, but my attention span is like that, okay, I've started reading a book. Well, actually, I just finished a book about ADHD. You should look it up if you think you have ADHD and you can't quite afford therapy. It's called the Adult ADHD Handbook, I think, by Kate Osborne and a guy named Eric. I'm sorry, I don't remember the specifics. Look that up. It's on Audible. If you have that monthly subscription, you have like a free audiobook every month, and that's what I did to get that book. I used my free book. Yeah, super helpful. Oh my gosh. Okay, I've rambled on enough. Thank you guys so much for joining me today, especially if you made it to the end here. At some point, I want to get ad revenue going off of this channel, and I need people to watch to the end. If you have any suggestions on things that you would like to have updates on, because there are lots, lots of things to update on and I don't know where to start, please feel free to leave a comment or comment about what you saw in this video that you liked, because it helps the algorithm and stuff. All right, guys, until next time, I'll see ya.